Que pasa, mi amigos? It is I, Nima, and today I want to talk about Bounty Hunter, that Jango Fett game that got re-released on the Switch recently. Yeah, I've been playing it for a while. I definitely want to get into that. I also want to do just a tad bit of a channel update. Don't worry, I'm not going to do some long video talking about stuff that most people really don't care about. Just a few things that I wanted to touch on. So, before we get into that, and before we get into the game, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow, and it helps me out. It means a lot to me. It makes me feel special. And I know you are the type that want to make people feel special. Anyway, so I've been playing Bounty Hunter. You know, that Jango Fett game that got re-released that was on the PlayStation 2. And I remember the game distinctly on the PlayStation 2 having really bad controls. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. They did a great job with that. While remastering this or porting that bad boy on over to the Switch, they really did fix the controls, and it just feels very organic. I mean, to the point where I actually had to check if the controls were bad on the PS2 version. I just remember them being bad, but maybe my memory was wrong. But it wasn't. No, they just fixed the controls. Now, not to mention the controls, they also fixed, well, the image quality. The game looks really good. I mean, is it top-notch AAA Nintendo Switch game? No, but for a game that was released almost 20 years ago, it's not bad. In fact, I kind of worried that Jango would look kind of, I don't know, pixelated or jaggy or something, and he doesn't. It actually looks really good, well-defined, and all of the other characters in the game actually look really good too. Now, you can kind of see some problems when you look at the environment and even the cutscenes, which I know have been redone. They still kind of look a little cheesy, but aside from that, the game actually does look really good, and audio is pretty good. I don't think they did much to fix it or to change it. I shouldn't say fix it. They didn't do a lot to update it. But I will say that a couple things that I wish they would have updated, they didn't. And one of them being just sort of an indicator of where to go next. You see, that was my biggest problem with the PS2 version is I got lost. I got lost so often, I had no idea what I was doing. Not only that, the other issue that I had was the bounties themselves. Because you see, you have to switch between your helmet and your gun or your rope or whatever you're going to use to catch your bounties. Now, often, there will be a lot of enemies that have bounties on them. So you have to run away from the enemies and then scan them all. Now, the game does slow down a little bit, but then you have to switch from your helmet, your identifier, over to your gun or to the rope or whatever weapon you're going to use. And all of this switching back and forth, it just feels incredibly convoluted for no reason. Like, I feel like there would have been a much easier way to make this happen. Even something like holding on to the left trigger. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your weapons to be able to scan an enemy to see if they have a bounty or not. Then, by the way, you also still have to mark the enemy if they have the bounty and then go and take them out and claim the bounty. It's a whole process that's just it's overcomplicated for no reason. And it really gums up like the whole combat. The combat becomes really unfun because half the time you're getting killed because you're just trying to do your job, or you're trying to do what the game wants you to do and collect more bounties, even though the enemies themselves are quite repetitive and they don't offer much of a challenge at all. If you just went in guns blazing, you wouldn't have any problems, but you also wouldn't unlock the bounties and you wouldn't unlock more into the game. So it's, a double-edged sword there. And as I said before, getting lost was a huge problem in this game. At least for me, it was a problem. Now, it is nice that you can explore more of the levels and it's a little more open-ended, but at the same time, there is only a few things that you're supposed to do and one general direction you're supposed to head in, and if you can't figure that out, it feels like putting together a set of Legos and already missing a piece. And the payoff for this navigation is nothing more than some very slow-moving, overcomplicated combat that isn't that fun, especially when, again, it's the same enemies, it's the same tactics over and over again. Now, personally, I like the game because it's about Jango Fett, let's be honest. Like, out of the Star Wars, the bounty hunters are my guys. Like, that's it. And I don't really like much else with the Star Wars characters or anything. Yeah, there's some good games, don't get me wrong. Last Jedi or whatever, Knights of the Old Republic, obviously. But if I'm being honest, the only unique calling card about this game, and the only thing that really makes most people excited, is, hey, it's a game that's kind of about Boba Fett. At least it's about Jango Fett. And that's one of the most popular characters. And this entire franchise has sort of just kind of crapped on that character. And it's funny because The Mandalorian sort of brought that entire franchise back to life. And yes, I know it's not Boba Fett, but it's that same Mandalorian bounty hunter type character. And you can pretty much put anyone in that kind of helmet and mask and give them blasters and be like, hey, like this guy. And most people do. So it's kind of insane that they haven't made other games based on any Mandalorians or even other bounty hunters. But with that being said, it's really difficult for me to advise picking this game up. I like it because of that one aspect, but ultimately, the game is kind of boring. And I hate to say that, but it just is. Even the storyline is kind of boring, let alone the combat being slow, arduous, and just overly complex. And not complex in a good way. I want to be clear on that. No, it's just like, it's overly clogged up. And the two real saving graces for this game is that it's about a beloved character, or an adjacent beloved character, and the fact that it's only $20. I think those two things are the reason why it would be somewhat of a difficult decision to say, hey, definitely don't get the game. Because, yeah, well, how many other games are there like that? Or how many other games can you be Jango Fett? And the answer is 0. I mean, unless you talk about the Lego games, but even that's not about Jango Fett. No, this is it. And the fact that it's only $20, okay, those two things you can make exceptions for if you are a fan of the series or the character. And like I said, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good, actually. It's just the combat kind of sucks and it's boring. Although I will say there is no metric that says this game is bad. In fact, technically, it's actually pretty good. There's very few performance issues and everything seems to be ported over well. And in fact, it took the original game and I think actually improved on it. It's just the original game wasn't that good to begin with, and they couldn't fix anything from that would make this less boring, and without some major overhaul, they couldn't make it more fluid. So I get where they're at, and that's why I'm saying, like, I don't advise getting it, but I understand if you do pick it up. I mean, it will be one of the most boring games that I am going to beat this year, so I understand, I get it. But, okay, quick little channel update. I just want to say that I'm going to play around with the format a little bit. Some of the videos might only be like 3 or 4 minutes. I'm having an issue where I'm playing so many games. I've got so many reviews to do, but the videos themselves take quite a while to get up. A couple, 2-3 days. And so I'm in this place as well where I'm not talking about games that I'm playing that I really like. I'm just doing review after review after review, and it becomes very formulaic, and I kind of want to change that up too. So I'm looking at just kind of shaking things up a little bit and maybe only doing 2 or 3 reviews a week and then having a dedicated video where I just talk about games I'm playing that week. And I mean, we'll see how it works out. We'll see if I'm doing more videos or scaling back a little bit, but maybe better quality. I don't know. I gotta figure out something because I really haven't been able to give as much as I've wanted to. In fact, I'll be honest, my last month or so, it's not my best work. I don't feel like. I haven't felt that way anyway. So I'm just going to be changing things around a little bit. But I just appreciate you guys for giving me that opportunity to do that. And I love the hell out of you. So let me know what your thoughts are. Anything and everything down in the comment section is much appreciated. My next video, I've got a whole bunch of games to talk about, and we will definitely get into some of that. And that is also one of the other things. I feel like a lot of my videos coming out are focused on like 3 or 4 games. Because there's just so many I'm reviewing, I gotta throw them all into one video. And I just feel like that's kind of slapped together at times or something. I don't know. I don't like doing that often. Unless you guys like that. Unless you like multiple game reviews in one video, but I don't know, let me know. In fact, let me know if you would think that smaller videos might be the way to go. I know I don't get the ad break money, but I don't know, I'm just real worried about making a good product. So just anything and everything in the comment section. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love y'all. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.